morning, everyone. This is Chris Bolts, and I'm coming in with my weapons review. Now, I actually saw Weapons yesterday on Sunday with my daughter, and there was a lot of real big hype behind this movie. I already wanted to go ahead and see it because I saw the trailer, and the trailer to me was very impressive. What I will say about Weapons is it is a good movie. However, I don't think it deserves all the hype that it really is getting. Let's just start off with saying that the movie itself is an original concept, and just to give a quick synopsis of the movie, Weapons is about this strange town where at a certain time in the morning, all these kids just got up out of their homes and just ran off into the darkness. And the next morning, all but one child is completely gone. And it takes place in this one specific teacher's classroom, played by Julia Garner, who, by the way, starred in the equally good but poorly performing box office movie Fantastic Four: First Step. In regards to that movie, it's not hard to see why she doesn't play her presence is, as far as that movie, is not imposing, but she did have really good stage presence in this particular one. She plays the teacher. I think her name was Justine in the movie. She's confused. She's wondering why this happened to her, why all these kids are completely gone, and all the parents are just looking at her with suspicion, despite the fact that she didn't have anything to do with these kids going missing at this so early in the morning. And that's where the mystery picks up. Now, I don't want to give away too much of the movie because you do have to go and experience this movie yourself in order to get the full understanding. There are different types of perspectives that are told in this movie. So we start off with the perspective of Justine, and then we go into the perspective of 4 other characters. And again, I don't want to give those characters away or anything like that. It is a pretty good movie in the regards that I really like the original concept. When you see these characters just running off, I looked at them, and in my 15-second review, I said that someone that made this movie played too many video games or has an understanding of video games, because as these kids are running off into the night, they're doing what's called a T-pose in video games, and that's basically where the character, a non-playable character, the protagonist, when they're in the programming phase, they stand in what's called a T-pose. They got their arms out like this, or they might have their arms down more at a 45 degree angle downward, and they just stand there. But that's how these kids are running. I was listening to another commentator, Ryan Cannell. He likened it to Naruto. However, it's not so much of a Naruto, because when the characters in Naruto run, they run with their arms to the back of them, whereas these characters, I would liken them more to the Titans and Attack on Titans, because if you look at those Titans, they have all kinds of funky types of runs. And there's a certain character in this movie that when I saw him running, I was like, yeah, that reminds me of the Titans and Attack on Titan, especially also the very weird look that they also have on their faces. So there's a lot of good pop culture references off in this movie. Like I said, the video game T-pose, the type of running when some of the characters are doing, how it reminds me of Attack on Titan. There's also a reference to The Shining off in here. I'm pretty sure some astute observers probably picked that up as well. So overall, Weapons is a good movie, but does it deserve all the hype that it's getting? No, I don't think it does. I don't think it deserves all the hype that it's getting. It's not really a horror movie. It's more of a suspense thriller, and those can have some horrific elements off in there, or horror elements rather. That's a better word than horrific. Horror elements, but I think they advertise it more as a horror movie than a suspense thriller. And I just didn't feel that there was a lot of horror in this movie. Were there some jump scares? Yeah, I didn't jump or anything, but a lot of people in the theater where I was at, they were surprised. They did jump up. They did laugh out loud and everything at some of the jump scares. But me personally, was like, I've seen enough jump scares in a lot of horror movies and in horror games that I'm not surprised anymore. So it does get points for originality. It does get points for being something out of the mold of what we come to expect with Hollywood nowadays, with the mega blockbusters and the superhero movies and all that jazz. Actually, this movie is doing quite well at the box office, such that it pushed Fantastic Four First Step to third place. And again, the irony of this movie is it does star Julia Garner in it, who also stars as the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four First Steps. But it was alleged that Pedro Pascal was supposed to be in the weapons as well, which lends into the question of Pedro Pascal fatigue. So it's a really good thing that he didn't show up in here. And then another commentator, J3PO from Geeks and Gamers Daily, who's the co-host with Ryan Cannell, brought up an interesting point that if Pedro Pascal had appeared in this movie, it would be another movie where it's a concerned father worried about his child, which is the theme of Fantastic Four First Step. So Hollywood, stop casting Pedro Pascal for everything. And Pedro Pascal, a word of advice to you, stop accepting all kinds of roles that you don't need to be in. You don't need to be in everything. So that was a really good fun thing about this movie, because if Pedro Pascal did show up in this movie, I think he would have done far worse than what it is. But overall, it's good to experience for once. But after that, you can live without it. I gave it an 8.5 stars, and I think that's a really good score for this movie. It's a really good original concept, a really good thriller. But as far as breaking barriers within the horror genre, nah, not really at all. So those are my thoughts on the movie. Have you guys seen Weapons? What did you think about the movie? Jump down in the comments and let me know what you think. And make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Boltz signing off, and I will catch you in the next video. You take it easy.